Welcome back to Famous People English Stories Audiobook in Minutes. Today, we're diving into a really powerful idea, all about what it actually means to be present. And we're going to do it by telling the story of a nature photographer who, believe it or not, learned his greatest lesson on one of the worst days of his life.
So let me just start by asking you this. Think back. Can you remember the last time you lost your wallet? That feeling? That sudden ice-cold panic that hits you in the gut when you realize it's just gone? No cash, no cards, and oh my gosh, the thought of going to the DMV. Just hold on to that feeling, because that's exactly where our story kicks off.
It all begins with that moment. You know the one. That moment of pure, unfiltered panic. A tiny mistake that just spirals and spirals into this feeling of being completely and utterly powerless.
So here's how it all went down. Our photographer, a guy named Tony Baldessaro, is at the Denver airport. He buys a bottle of water, super simple, right? Except he leaves his wallet right there on the counter. And he doesn't realize it until he's already on the plane, in the air, flying to California. For the next 75 minutes, he's literally flying in the exact opposite direction of his lost wallet. So by the time he lands in Yosemite National Park for this big photography conference, he has no ID, no money, no credit cards. I mean, what a terrible, terrible start to a trip.
So what do you do? What would you do in that situation? Totally overwhelmed with stress, he does the only thing he can think of. He grabs his camera, finds a random trail, and just starts walking. He's in one of the most beautiful places on the entire planet, and all he wants to do is take a picture of something, anything, just to forget about his wallet for 5 minutes.
And this is where things start to get really interesting. Because to understand the lesson he's about to learn, you first have to understand his whole philosophy when it comes to photography. See, he doesn't just see himself as a photographer. He calls himself a preservationist. His job isn't just to take pretty pictures. It's to preserve these tiny, fleeting moments in nature that would otherwise just disappear forever. You know, like a specific sunset that will never happen again, or the way the snow looks on a single tree. These things exist for just an instant, and he feels it's his job to capture them.
But here is the absolute key to this whole thing. He came to realize that the real victory, the actual win, wasn't just getting the photo. It was about being totally and completely present in that moment. And let's be honest, in our world today, with all the distractions and notifications and constantly thinking about what's next, well, that has become incredibly hard to do. And struggling with this challenge is what led him to this huge realization. It's a really simple shift in thinking, but it changes absolutely everything. And honestly, this next idea is probably the most important thing we're going to talk about today. Okay, so here's the shift. It's moving away from the idea of taking a picture of something. When you do that, you're an outsider, you're an observer, totally separate from what's happening. The goal is to start taking pictures from within something. That means you have to immerse yourself, you have to become part of the experience, and let the moment guide you instead of you trying to force the moment into some perfect idea you have in your head.
Now, I know that might sound a little bit abstract, but it's perfectly illustrated by a real story. A story that involves a gorgeous Vermont sunset and about 100 cows.
So years ago, he's out in Vermont, and he finds what he thinks is the perfect scene. You can picture it, a beautiful sunset, a rustic farm, a classic fence leading your eye into the shot. He's thinking, this is it. This is my big Yankee Magazine moment. And then the cows came. At first, it was just a few, then a dozen, then suddenly like 100 of them wander right into his perfect shot. He gets so frustrated, actually angry, trying to move his camera around to frame the cows out of his picture, but they just kept getting in the way. And then it hit him. He was so busy trying to take a picture of the scene in his head, he was completely missing the real moment that was happening right there in front of him. I just love how he put it. He said, the moment was literally mooing right in front of me, and I was too deaf to hear it. He realized the cows weren't ruining the shot. The cows were the shot. They were the story. They were the real, authentic moment. And so he just stopped fighting it. He got his camera down low, he embraced the chaos, and he took a picture from within that field full of cows. He didn't get the picture he thought he wanted. Nope, he got something so much better. His very first magazine cover. Okay, so keeping that lesson in mind, let's go all the way back to the beginning of our story. We're back in Yosemite. He's stressed out, he's got no wallet, and he's just wandering around with his camera. And you have to remember, there was no plan here. He wasn't hunting for the perfect light or trying to find some famous landmark. He was just walking to clear his head, totally open to whatever might happen. He was forced to operate from within the moment because, well, he didn't have any other choice. And then look what happened. He had no idea that this random trail he picked would lead him down to the Merced River. He had no idea that the afternoon light would slice through the valley and land like a perfect spotlight on this one little group of trees. And he definitely had no idea that the river would be perfectly still, creating this breathtaking reflection. None of this was planned. And that's the real magic of it, because he let go of all his expectations, because he was just wandering around and being present, he was able to be within this incredible, unexpected, beautiful moment. And he ended up taking one of the most meaningful photos of his entire life on a day that started out as a complete and total disaster. Oh, and the wallet. What happened with the wallet? Well, the answer to that problem comes down to one number: 2. As in, 2 unbelievably kind flight attendants who actually went back to the airport, found his wallet, and then overnighted it to him in Yosemite. He had it back in his hands before he even left the park. All thanks to the kindness of those 2 people. Today, that photo from Yosemite, the one he never planned to take, is the background on his iPhone. And it's his constant daily reminder to just slow down, to look around, and most importantly, to live within the moments life gives you, not just the ones you plan for. So the final takeaway here is this: you don't need a camera to use this lesson. We all have a lens, right? A way that we see the world. So the question is, are you using your lens to just watch life from the outside? Or are you using it to dive in and fully immerse yourself from within? What's your lens for living in the moment?